Okay, let's discuss. I recently stumbled across a TikTok video of a group of teenagers arguing that cinema is dead. The video had thousands of comments, so I went through them, and what shocked me was that most people agreed. They claimed movies suck now, that everything is soulless, that all we get are sequels, reboots, and Colleen Hoover adaptations, and that there's no point in going to theaters anymore. And honestly, that conversation really pissed me off, because this idea isn't new. It's a growing narrative that's been repeated everywhere over the past few years, especially online. And if I'm being completely honest, I think a lot of people are lying to themselves. Yes, studios push franchises. Yes, and maybe, just maybe, marketing favors sequels. But that doesn't mean original, powerful, non-franchise films suddenly stopped existing. Watching a movie is one of the most magical experiences you can have. That's part of the magic. So, if even one of these movies surprised you, challenged you, or reminded you why you fell in love with film in the first place, then this video did its job. The problem isn't that great movies aren't being made. It's that many of them are being ignored. So today, I want to shine a light on films that flew under the radar, movies that deserved way more love than they got. Here are some incredible, unappreciated movies you should watch at least once because they're simply too good to ignore. Kicking things off on our list, The Father. Anthony Hopkins became the oldest Best Actor winner, following his career best performance in The Father. The film explores the subject of dementia, but does so in a way that is refreshing and allows audiences to experience the deterioration of its subject. Hopkins leads the film as Anthony, an elderly man and father with dementia. The narrative in the film is subjective and told from Anthony's point of view, which often situate the line between what is real and what is not. The storytelling in The Father is extremely personal and emotional, especially towards its end as Anthony remembers bits and pieces of his mother. Audiences are invited into Anthony's mind and are presented with a gradually confused interpretation of events, representing his worsening condition. The Father earned lots of critical acclaim, rightfully so, but its meaningful story is best enjoyed once, and only a few times after that. I strongly recommend you check it out. Next on our list, Avengers Endgame. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, is a massive superhero franchise that is only gaining in popularity and is truly unavoidable. Avengers Endgame marks the end of an era and was the direct sequel to Avengers Infinity Wars, which ended on a massive cliffhanger where half of all life was erased by Thanos. The big-budget film was a record breaker and is the second highest-grossing film of all time, earning almost $2.8 billion internationally. I managed to learn about the entire plot and ending of Avengers Endgame and heard the words "I love you" in 3,000 inches times than I could ever imagine, despite never watching the movie. As a non-Marvel fan who only watched the select movies I was intrigued by, I didn't see the point of watching Avengers Endgame, especially since I hadn't seen Avengers Infinity Wars either. Now that 4 years have passed, it is far too late for me to join the discussion about Avengers Endgame, meaning I might never watch the iconic movie, but sincerely speaking, I strongly recommend you check it out. Next on our list, Pacific Rim. I rewatched Pacific Rim recently due to not having seen it in a while, and it holds up pretty well. For a film with such a silly premise, it actually manages to use it in a pretty smart way, because the movie doesn't take itself seriously and knows how stupid it is. On top of that, the movie manages to appeal to both fans of monster movies and non-fans. It's like people who enjoy movies like Godzilla can enjoy this movie for its action sequences, but people who want a little more than that can enjoy this film for its impressive CGI and likable characters. The movie also has a really great soundtrack which lives rent-free in my head, and the film also does a romance subplot super fucking well. At number 4, Manchester by the Sea. Dealing with heavy themes of guilt and grief, Manchester by the Sea is a family torn apart by a tragic accident. In the film, Lee Chandler is depressed and left with a tremendous amount of guilt after the said accident, but becomes the legal guardian of his nephew Lucas Hedges after his brother Kyle Chandler dies of cardiac arrest. Lee's grief is persistent, leaving little room for levity throughout the film. While such a dark story has the potential to create an exhausting viewing experience for audiences, the performances of the film's cast make it more palatable. Screenwriter and director Kenneth Lonergan is considerate of Lee's emotions and aims to be realistic with his efforts to confront his past. This makes it easier for audiences to connect with the film's harrowing narrative, though it's still not a movie with a lot of rewatch value, but definitely check it out. Next on our list, reality. Sydney Sweeney is ready for her close-up. Playwright-turned-filmmaker Tina Satter-Obliges, a household name of late due to her exceptional work in both Euphoria and The White Lotus. Sweeney has earned the camera's attention for over a decade. The reality movie centers on a woman facing grave charges, a suspect under interrogation, and a whistleblower whose fate is already known to the world. It provides a thriller of a procedural with agents, questions, allegations, and arrests, an informer saga that cuts to the heart of 21st-century American politics and its specific chaos since 2016, an impossible-to-shake tragedy about how authority savagely responds to being held to account. At number 7, Emily the Criminal. Emily the Criminal is a pretty decent flick, and I'm not sure why it hasn't had a bigger release. It stars Aubrey Plaza in a role that's totally different from her usual sarcastic comedic roles like April Ludgate in Parks and Recreation. She is an underachiever in debt who gets hooked up with a small criminal enterprise to make cash. This film reminded me of Breaking Bad, so if you like that kind of story, you'll like this. Overall, it's well-paced and involving. Check it out. Streaming on Netflix. Next on our list, The Whale. Brendan Fraser's career was revitalized at the start of the decade, where he ended up winning the Academy Award for Best Actor after 2022 sets. Fraser stars in the film as Charlie, a morbidly obese English teacher who only wishes to reconnect with his estranged daughter, Ellie. The film earned a mixed critical response, mainly due to its portrayal of obesity and the use of a prosthetic suit for Fraser. Yet the comeback story of Fraser and the actor's performance, in addition to the work of Sink and Hong Shao, has prompted audiences to watch the film. Despite its controversy, The Whale is guaranteed to evoke an emotional response from audiences, as Charlie's daily struggles and unsuccessful attempts to reconnect with Ellie are upsetting to witness. Next on our list, It Was Just an Accident. This film is easy to celebrate because of the circumstances of its creation after being filmed in secret by Iranian filmmaker Jafar Panahi, who has faced prison for his past work and was sentenced again in absentia for this one. But it's also excellent beyond his Herculean effort. This social thriller drops its characters into a gripping moral conundrum. What would you do if you believe you found the person who ruined your life, but can't really be sure? For Vahid, the answer is to seek out fellow political prisoners who could verify whether the man he's abducted and intends to kill was actually their torturer. As their debate rages, the man's identity becomes only part of the larger problem of whether it's right to take revenge, and if so, how, despite its subject matter. It Was Just an Accident is not a heavy film. It's often funny, touching, and absurd all at once. But in the hands of its mostly non-professional cast, this emotional complexity is a reflection of a complex reality. At number 1, Rebuilding. 2025 has been enormously successful, with the Challenger's favorite continuing to prove himself as a surefire future Oscar winner. Given the huge immediate success of Wake Up Dead Man, adding to the growing list of new movies following the bonding between a father and his daughter, Rebuilding look to strengthen his relationship with his young daughter, Callie, after his ranch is destroyed in a devastating fire. Prepare tissues for any viewing of Rebuilding, as this is one of the most tear-jerking tales of the year. Director Max Silver Walkerman nails almost every beat. I strongly recommend checking this one out. If you're still convinced that cinema is dead, I honestly don't think the problem is movies. I think the problem is that we've stopped looking. Great films aren't set always the loudest. They don't always come with massive marketing budgets or familiar franchise names, but they're still out there quietly waiting to be discovered, and maybe that's Sep's part of the magic. So, if even one of these movies surprised you, challenged you, or reminded you why you fell in love with film in the first place, then this video did its job. If you know a movie that deserves more attention, drop it in the comments because some of the best recommendations come from people who actually love cinema. And if you're tired of being told that movies aren't worth your time anymore, stick around. There's still so much worth watching. I'll still see you in the next one.
Have closed dozens of locations across the United States. Meanwhile, streaming services are getting better. Exclusive theatrical windows are shrinking from 90 days to as little as 17 days. It's barely over 2 weeks now. And Hollywood isn't supplying the mid-budget movies that draw real crowds. Theaters are trying everything to stay afloat. Pickleball courts in the lobby, cocktail bars, even pot shops. Yeah, just to get people back. But here's the question. Is the movie theater experience dead for all of you? And even myself, is it in need of a reboot? Is it worth paying $20 for a ticket and overpriced popcorn and candy when you've got Netflix, HBO, and an OLED at home? I want to hear from the movie fans and the skeptics alike. Would you still go to the theater, or has the couch won you over? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Appreciate you.